Hello? Yeah, now. Hello, everyone. Great start. So, welcome to my third English live streaming. I decided to stream this in English because I need to practice my English. So, don't worry, or Spanish watchers, you are going to be able to watch this content in Spanish probably next week. So, no problem with that. Besides, you already saw some parts of this streaming. So what are we going to see today? It's pretty easy. We work in several projects with Unreal Engine. We migrated from Unity to Unreal Engine after Unity decided to go with the rental licensing scheme. We have a Unity Pro license, etc., but we don't use it anymore, practically for anything. Oh, the camera. Hello? Yeah, okay. So we don't use it anymore, practically for anything. So now our work is based on Unreal Engine. And we had a big problem when we had to do an ArcViz VR visualization from a render project. So then Epic Games decided to launch DataSmith, which is, well, more or less great. I will talk about it later. But DataSmith supports 3ds Max and supports some Autodesk proprietary applications. We used to use that in the past, no way, but right now we are Blender based, as you know. So what could we do to have that DataSmith for us? Well, for starters, we couldn't do anything. So DataSmith is from Epic. I hope they release some more advanced version of DataSmith in the future for Blender, but right now they are not going to release DataSmith for Blender. So we needed a way to pass our assets to Unreal Engine with materials, because the biggest problem was that we have some objects like this one. Oh wait, let me put here environment texture. And as you know, I really love Blender Cloud textures, and I have to log in. Great moment to log in. One moment. Blender ID. Hello, validate. Yeah. That. Hey, I'm logging in. Well, I'm doing this outside the camera because I need to enter my pass. So I'm not going to do that in the camera. Let's log out and log in again. Now I'm logging in. So please. Well, it's not working. So let me put another HDRI. Environment texture. Let's open one from here, for example. Textures would now. From Live 5, I have some HDRIs here. So for example, this one, I don't care. Just some light. Okay, so we have this asset, and this asset is a render prepared asset. So it's prepared for Cyclos. If we go and check its materials, let me put this right. Okay. If we go and check its materials, we can go here. Let me open this node editor. You can see that we have the wooden part, the tabletop, has some good textures for the base color, for the roughness, some value in the specularity, and some bump. I think it's bump, not normal. Yeah, it's bump. And we have a second material that is this one, that is just a principal shader metallic principal shader with some roughness, some metallic value, and that's it. Practically that's it. This clear coat roughness has no use because clear coat is at 0, so no use. So what can we do to pass this to Blender, to Unreal Engine? For starters, we have to start on how do we export our assets. Memo, waiting to in motion exported to Unreal to mimic BlenderSMITH. I'm not sure what is to in motion. If you can explain it to me, please put this in the chat and I will check it out later. So the first thing is, how do we export our assets? Hi Sebos 3D. We use an existing add-on from Blender that works pretty well, that is Capsule. You can find the links, all the links for everything that we are going to use today are in the video description below. So you can go to the links right now. Well, not right now because you will stop watching me, so later, better. Yeah, so we use Capsule. It's a pretty good add-on for export. It allows you to use GLTF or to use FBX. I'm not sure if this, well, in fact, I think this is not updated with the latest Kronos Group GLTF exporter, but in general, we use FBX for the time being. I really hope we have a proper support for GLTF, both in Blender and Unreal Engine. So we use this. The only thing you have to do is to download this, compress this folder as a zip file, and install it as any other add-on. So it's pretty simple. But when you start the scene, if you go here to Capsule, okay, you enable the add-on, but it's not going to be seen here. You're not going to see the add-on here. It should be here, but there is nothing related to Capsule. Why is that? Because we need to create Capsule data. Okay, so we are going to create Capsule data, and then we should be able to see Capsule somewhere here. There we have some, here we have some presets, and we have to enable those presets. So add to file presets, UF4 standard is okay. So this one is okay. And well, I'm going to ignore all this because this is not a tutorial about Capsule, and we use it, but it's pretty simple, and we don't complicate ourselves with this for Arc and Beast. For more complex situations, we may use the tags, and we may use live exports and other things, but the pass exports. But right now we don't need this. So that's it. We just need this preset. Everything is correctly configured, so that's it. We don't bundle the textures right away. That's important, because with this we only export the geometry, not the textures, not the shaders. So okay, that's it. Let's go to Capsule around here. It should be it's somewhere here. Hello, Capsule. Should be here. Primitive. So far, everything is working pretty well. Everything is failing. Fractal layer management, artifact, asset management, and that's it. Capsule. It has its own tab. So this is the Capsule add-on. And the only thing you have to do is to pick your object. By the way, be sure to name your materials with different names. If you have several materials but they are exactly the same, for example, this one, this is going to be exported as just one material slot. So Be sure you have different materials that are not instanced if you want to have more than one slot in the FBX when you import it in Unreal Engine. So let me rename this to English, just because table, because we are in English streaming, and I will rename it to Spanish when I use this is seen in the Spanish streaming. Low. That's it. Okay, so we have this object. We just have to enable export. We can use groups, we can use a lot of things, but right now I just want to export this object. We enable export, and we can use a scene origin. I will explain the difference between these two. So I'm going to export both tables, table out center and table center. So I'm going to remove this one, enable this export, enable this export. Okay, we have table center, table out center, and for the table out center, I don't remember which one was. With uses in origin, it's going to, I'm not sure if it's going to respect the position. I have a few add-ons, yeah, a few ones. If it's going to respect the position of the object in your scene, so when you import this in Unreal Engine, you will already have it in place, or if it resets its position to the 0, 0. It does one of two things. So let me move this here, and I will enable this to the center one. Uses in origin, so we can see what happens. Now we have to add a location. Where are we going to export these objects? So in this case, you have to add the location here. We add a location, file path. We go to live, English Live 3, Blender, export. This is okay for me right now. I want absolute paths. Hi, Angel. Fine, thanks. And this is the path we are going to use, this path. I'm going to name this to table path or export path. In some cases, you may want to export different things to different paths. For example, if you want to differentiate static assets from characters, from props, from different things, you can configure different paths and make a whole export of your whole scene at once, but in different places. So this is pretty cool. So we have this, we have the location configured. Now we have to configure the location for each object, and we have to pick the preset for the export. Now that's it. We can export our assets. It's just this simple. It will be exported if this is enabled. So if we have to re-export an object that we already exported, but we don't want to export the rest of the scene, you just have to disable everything, pick the object you want to export, enable export here or enable export here. So I want to export both of the objects, so it's okay. Great. Let's save this scene as table capsule. We are ready to export this to Unreal Engine. Let's go. Just press export. Okay. And everything is crashing. This is great. Object name suffix. Let's check if this exported something or not. No, it didn't export a single thing. So what's happening here? Execute, prepare, export, combine. Keyword version unrecognized. It could be because I'm using the latest. Yeah, it could be because of that. Let me start the Blender release. I'm using the latest daily build, so there may be changes in the Python API that are coming from the Blender 2.8 branch. So let's try with the 2.79. So we have this, and we just press export. Everything exported. Perfect. It was because I was using the daily build. So everything exported. Let me check this. Here we have our two objects. Okay, great. So let's go to Unreal. I have this project here. It's a simple project, nothing special, nothing fancy. I have some things already here, but I'm going to ignore those things. This is mostly to put some examples later. But right now, I'm going to explain our folder structure. In Unreal, everything is inside the content folder, but this means that everything that you import from a different project, for example, a plugin project, for example, a demo project from Epic, it's going to be here in the content. So what we do is to create a BS folder, a Bone Studio folder, and everything we do, and it's not coming from outside of this project, is going to be located here, and everything we develop, every model, everything is going to be located inside the BS folder. Memo says Twinmotion is a commercial render engine based on Unreal, special uses for libraries. I used Capsule, now using FBX bundle. Yeah, it's what I just saw. So what I just saw it, and it was really great. So inside the BS folder, we create, and this is optional, of course, we create a mod folder, and this folder is going to have all of our models and their shaders, their materials. So right now I'm going to create just a prop folder, for example, and I'm going to import everything here. Let me go here. And here. That's it. I'm going to import table center and table out center. But you will see one thing. We are going to repeat this operation right now. Right now, when you import the object, you have to configure several things. If you already work with Unreal Engine, you may already know this. But in case you don't know this, this is the import options. I recommend to configure your lot group with one of the presets here, because this is going to automatically generate the lots of the object. So this is pretty cool. You may ignore the lots. For Arc and Beats is pretty cool. And we have different groups. You can use whatever group you want. For example, in this case, I'm going to use large prop, the one that was configured. I don't want vertex color right now. I don't have anything. I want to generate light map UVs, but we will talk about the light map UVs in a minute. And more or less that's it. Now, if we go here, we have the option to import the materials and the textures. And what I'm going to do is to configure this as if you don't have anything that I have here. So if you go and press import materials, this is going to be blank. And we are going to import the object this way, right now, just to show you what happened. So this is everything's okay. So we can go and import everything, import all. This will import both tables. Here we have table center, and here we are. And if we check our object, this is table center. We have the two material slots, great. And we have table out center, and we have the two material slots. Now, if we put the table in the scene and we reset this to 0, 0, 0, let's load this floor a bit. You can see this table is not at the 0, 0, 0. But if we, it should be this table should be at the 0, 0, 0, but okay, I mistakenly configured this. But if we put this table in the scene and we put this at the 0, 0, 0, this table is correctly placed at the 0, 0, 0. So if we go back here, let me check. Table out center is the one correctly configured. So table out center, okay, table out center should use uses in origin, and table center shouldn't use this. Okay, great. Let's re-export both tables. Right, that's it. So we are going back to Unreal Engine, and when we are going to do a fast re-import. And here we are. Now we currently have table out center out of the center of the scene and the table center in the center of the scene. So cool. Now what happened with the materials? If we go inside one of these materials, this is just a material, and you may be tempted to use this because this is pretty similar to the principal shader, right? We go to Blender. This is similar, but you shouldn't do this. Why? Because this is a shader, and the shader should be compiled. So the best procedure I know, at least in my experience, is that we should have an over shader or a small group of over shaders pre-configured for different things. For example, an over shader that is this one, but with some configuration we are going to see in a moment. This shader, but just for static and solid objects. Another similar shader that is taking into account the transparency of the object. Another one for hair or skin, for example, and another one for foliage, and more or less that's it. But you should have this small group of materials, and these shaders are materials, but you don't want your objects to have materials. You want your objects to have materials instance. Why? Because this way you will avoid some computation and you will save some computation power. I'm not sure if it's just at the build time, but I think this works also in game. You will gain some milliseconds. So if you work in virtual reality, some milliseconds are the life, because we need every frame to be processed at 11 milliseconds. This is pretty low processing time. So this is not valid for us. Okay, this has no use for us. So what can we do? Because I don't want to manually configure every single material, delete every single material, and re-import everything. There is an add-on that you can copy shaders from. Yeah, I know that add-on, but that add-on has this problem that I'm speaking about. That is that, yes, you create a material that basically is a shader, and a shader has an overhead in computation. So you are going to lose a bit of power if you have tons and tons and tons of shaders. It's better to have a main shader or a group of shaders and use material instances. Okay, so I don't like to recreate materials here, especially if they are complex materials. The shaders should stay as simple as possible, because with each node you add here, and when it is computed, it will drain power from your graphics processing power. So you have to save as much power as you can. So that I don't like that add-on because of that. It's like copying a raw material. And apart from that, not everything is exactly and it's not working perfectly. So I don't want this. As I said, I don't want this. What can I do? Well, what we should do is to create this material that is our base material. And please don't be afraid, this will look a bit complex, but we are going to recreate not this material entirely, but we are going to recreate more or less this material. So this is the material. Cool, huh? Okay, this is not that complex. Let me explain a bit of this, all this mess of nodes. So what I wanted to do here is to give myself as much configuration ability, if this is a word, as much options as I could inside one same material. That's the reason, because this looks so complex. No, really, it's not that complex. So I'm going to recreate a simpler version of this material, but I think in our GitHub, let me check here. Yeah, here you have the matpvr base peak and base peak 2. You have the whole material. You can copy the material node by node. It's in high resolution, at least I think so. It should be. Hello? Check, yeah. You can copy each material node by node, so don't worry. And really, this is a pretty simple material. Pick 1 and pick 2 because it's too big. Great, I created this copy, but this doesn't work. I think I'm going to delete this from the GitHub because this doesn't work. Okay, let's go back to Unreal. So we have this base material. I'm going to recreate this. Let me put this aside, and I'm going to create a new material, and I'm going to matpvr base streaming or base live. Okay, so if we enter here, we have our simple material. It has no configuration at all. The first thing we have to check are these configurations, and I'm not going to go through all of the settings here. Juan, you can call me Juan, Ángel. Yes, I'm going to do live streaming in Spanish. Sí, Ángel. Lo voy a hacer también en español. Hoy en inglés, pero lo haré en español. So let's continue in English. I'm going to repeat this in English, don't worry, in Spanish, don't worry. So I'm not going to go through all this configuration, but in this case, I want a surface material domain. It's surface, blend mode is opaque because we are going to do the simple version, the opaque version of the material. Shading model default lead, and that's it. We don't need anything more here. What do we need for our materials? We need more or less 4 things, just 4 things, okay? 4 things. What are those 4 things? Well, we need a color texture, a metallic texture, and a specular texture. Well, 5 things. A roughness texture and a normal texture, or a bump texture. Right now we are going to cover the first ones, and we will go through the bump later. So if I just need those textures to configure a material, it's pretty simple to recreate this, because I go here and I say texture parameter, texture sample parameter 2D, color TX. This is my color texture. I can create this a group, and we will see why do we want a group here. It's important that you create a parameter, okay? So because we can texture sampler, we have here, no, this is a parameter also, we can create a texture sample, but this is not going to be of any use for us because we need a parameter to be configured in the instances, in the material instances. Great. Let me check one thing of the streaming, because yeah, okay, no problem. Great. So we just created our color TX parameter, and I want to retain these names just because we are going to use a script later, and I have it configured for this. So color TX parameter. Now we need our metallic TX parameter. So we can copy the same parameter, metallic TX. And as I said, we can create a group. So textures, and let's put this in textures too. Metallic. After that, we have specular TX. So specular TX. And after that, we have roughness, I think. Yeah, roughness TX. Roughness TX. Right? Roughness TX in textures. And after that, I'm going to create the bump TX, but I will explain it later because this is as I said, it's a bit more complex. So it was not a param2D, it was a param text object. Parameter text. Texture object parameter. Bump TX. So we have all of our textures, and these have to be in textures. Okay. And now we just connect this to its slots. So color, metallic, specular, roughness, and what happens with bump? We cannot use a bump directly in Unreal Engine. Exactly the same as in Cycles. You have to use an intermediary node to convert this bump to normal. So in this case, we need this parameter. Well, in reality, we don't need this parameter, but it's great to have it. We just need this node, normal from height map. So we create normal from height map. Right? We connect this to the normal. Right. And now we connect the bump to the height map. And I want to create a parameter to multiply the bump value. And for this, we can promote these two parameters. For example, this is one way. Another way is to go here and scalar parameter. Okay, it's exactly the same, but this is done automatically. If you click here, promote to parameter, it's going to create the parameter by you. So number map intensity, it's okay. I prefer to call this bump multiplier, a lot simpler to understand later. And the default value is going to be 0. Well, we can leave it at 1 if you want. Great. So we have our base material with different roughness, different metalness, different specularity, different color, different bump. Great, that's it. We don't need anything more. And if we need anything, we can add it later. So don't worry about this. We have our material. Let's apply. Let's save. And let me drink a bit, please. Great. No, I don't want to save changes in the other material. This is my base material now. So my PBR base life. Okay. I'm going to delete everything because I don't want this. This is crap, basically. So there is one reference, of course. Let me save the level in levels, sample level, Great. Let me delete this. Okay, no references, I can delete this. And now I'm going to re-import the tables. So import, I pick those two tables, and here we have my options. But this time, instead of leaving this empty, I'm going to press here and I'm going to look for my matpvr base life. I press here. In general, I don't configure anything here, and you will see the reason later, but if you want, you can color TX, normal textures, the bump TX, emissive, we don't have emissive, and the main reason is that I don't understand these values here, because I have also a roughness texture parameter. So why is not shown here? And why does it show an emissive color when I don't have any emissive color? I don't know if this is because the FVX can carry these textures inside, but usually I leave this empty. So I want to import materials, but I don't want to import textures. This all appears to be slow, but this is just because I'm explaining it. This is really fast when you are working with it. So here we have, it seems to be the same, but it's not the same. We have our materials, we have our object, we have the material supplied, table, tabletop, table low. But if we go to our materials, what we have is a material instance. We don't have a shader anymore. We don't have a material anymore. We have a material instance, and we can configure the textures we want here. It's that simple. Great. One part accomplished. After you have these kind of materials ready in one project, you can migrate these materials from one project to another. So you don't have to repeat this process once and again. That is the reason because this material looks so complex, because I have many options here. As a base, I have a color to multiply the different textures, so I can modify its values. I have an option to have a Fresnel, so we can simulate some kind of cloth and these kind of things with the Unreal Engine Fresnel system. We have also an option to tile the textures, and to tile all the textures at once. So we can modify the tiling if we have a tile level texture. We have the option to have a normal map and to have a bump map. You can pick which one you want to use. And this is just for the, of course, and we have the option to disable the textures and use just the color. Ignore the texture and use the color. And this is not the final material. We have a bit more, a newer version of this material, but with a few more options. Not too many, but a few more options. And we have another material similar to this for transparent material, for translucent material, from masked materials, for hair. Well, not for hair. For hair, we used one of the Epic demos material. We have one for, what was it? I don't know. We have some base materials for everything. So that's it. Now, I want to import my materials here. How can I do that? Let's go to Blender. Let's go to Blender. Here I have Blender. And as you know, we have our materials here. And these materials, in this case, it has a bright wood, it has a texture, and here it has a bump, and here it just has values. How can I translate values from Blender to Unreal? And most importantly, how can I translate those values from Blender to Unreal to every object automatically? That is the important part, automatically, because what BlenderSMITH does is to export your objects, your assets from 3ds Max to Unreal and configure everything. It configures the asset, it configures the material, and that's it. the scene is ready. You don't have to do anything. Apart from that, it uses also it configures the lighting, it configures other things. But after seeing DataSmith and using DataSmith in one project a few months ago, I don't need the lighting. I prefer to configure the lighting inside of Unreal. I don't need to export the lighting from Blender. I prefer to manually configure the lighting in Unreal. Why? Because one of the most important things for us in Unreal is performance. It's not just that it should look great. It should look great and work fast. And one of those things that I think DataSmith is not doing well, hello, focus, is giving us performance. DataSmith doesn't deliver performance, I think. Hi, Pablo. So this is optimized to allow us to get the maximum performance. So now, before we export the materials, we have to check our UV mapping, because in the Oliver Villar, in the Oliver Villar streaming from this evening, someone, and I think it was you, Mamo Plus, or any other person, I'm not sure. Hi, Francisco. Yeah, Francisco, I will do it in Spanish too, but next week probably. With GLTF, this is solved, or the problem in the materials are not the instances. Well, with GLTF, this could be solved, but there is a problem, is that the Unreal Engine GLTF imported is pretty limited right now. It's not just the Blender exported that it may work or not, but the GLTF imported in Blender material is in Unreal is, I think, is nearly in alpha state, so it has no use right now. I hope you will be able to select a base material and use instances for it, just like you can do with FBX. So I hope that. So we have to check our UVs, okay? Because if we are going to use this with live mapping, we need at least correct UVs. And some people, let me go to UV image editor. Some people come here and say, hey, I can use these UVs, right? Well, no, you cannot use these UVs. Why you cannot use these UVs? Well, let's go to Unreal Engine again. I don't know if we are going to be lucky here with this table, but when we imported the tables, we set Unreal to generate the light map UVs. And this is cool, this is great, because Unreal does a pretty good work generating light map UVs. But it has a problem, that Unreal doesn't do a full UV mapping process. It needs a base, so it can look up at that base and generate the light map UVs. So if we go here, we have here UV mapping, and we go to the UV channel 1, and this is not correct. I think so. Yeah, this is not correct. I'm sure this is not correct. Why? Because there are some parts missing here. In this case, this object comes from a render project, so this is not optimized. We have these faces here. We have not deleted anything. And this is not these are not the correct UVs for this table. So this is not going to be to bake correctly. This is not going to be correctly. How can we fix that? It's pretty simple. Yeah, it was you, right? No, Pablo, there is no DataSmith version for Blender. No, there is no DataSmith version for Blender. This is our pipeline with our own scripts that is mimicking part of the DataSmith pipeline, the part that we want, that is the material part. But there is no DataSmith for Blender. Maybe in the future Epic Games could develop DataSmith for Blender, but right now they only support SketchUp, 3ds Max, and I think Inventor or Fusion 360. I don't know exactly. But the SketchUp version, I disagree. It doesn't work like a charm. It's not that you don't get a correct, well, not correct. In fact, you don't get exactly a correct object, but it's not that you don't get a good looking object inside of Unreal. The problem is that it's not optimized. So you are not going to get the best performance possible. And you are going to see different problems like tons of materials. As I said, DataSmith creates materials, shaders, and don't use material instances. At least at the moment we used it, we didn't see any option to use material instances. So this is horrible. Okay, this is horrible. So this is the problem with DataSmith. Yeah, my scripts are open source and are on my GitHub. So I'm going to explain both scripts here right now. So these UVs aren't right, okay, are not correct. And this has nothing to do with DataSmith. You need your UVs correctly laid out in 3ds Max or in any other package, because this problem is you are going to have this problem no matter what happens if you use this kind of UVs. And you can use this kind of UVs that is styling and reusing parts of the texture, but you have to do one special thing. What special thing? Let me go to this table, to the UV mapping. No, this is not my Blender. Sorry, this is my Blender. So you can go here, we can go to UV maps, and I'm going to create a second UV map channel. Okay, I just duplicate it, and this is not complex. I'm just going to use the Smart UV project. Okay, it's okay. I don't care about these UVs. Just Control A, Control P, so it's packet. Let me put some margin here. A bit more, maybe. Just to be sure that nothing is overlapping. Okay, this is okay. I'm not going to use this. This is going to be used by Unreal, but not by me. So I should be sure that every polygon is correctly mapped. It's has its correct UVs, but it doesn't have to use all the UV space correctly, and you don't have to do a complex UV system. Why not line map on grab? This is a good question. If I go to line map on grab, I can do this right now. I will leave it as it is. What I found is that this is useless. Why? Because, well, let me even, if I do a packing, this is useless. It just breaks every polygon. And this is going to give you tons and tons of seams in the texture. And it's going to be madness. It's going to be completely useless. So ignore, at least in my opinion, ignore the light map pack. It's not going to work. Okay, it's not going to work. So ignore it. This is useless. Really, this is useless. So let's go back. This is going to work perfectly. Let me check one thing. Yeah, this is going to work perfectly. So now let me repeat the same operation. In this case, I'm going to repeat the Smart UV project. It's not going to be the same. I don't care. Again, I'm not going to use these UVs. These are going to be used by Unreal. So I have both objects. Let me save and let's go to Capsule. Hello, Capsule. Where are you? Here. Okay. And in this case, I don't have to delete everything. In the other situation, I wanted to delete everything because I wanted to force the appearance of the import window. In this case, I don't want to force anything. I have everything correctly. I just want to re-import the mesh so I have my UV channels reloaded. So let's export. Okay, that's it. And let's go here and re-import. That's it. Easy peasy. If I go here now, I can see that I don't have my second channel and my third channel, right? This is the same as before, but I re-imported the object. Yes, this is because I need to tell Unreal that I want to use the correct UV channel. So in this case, in build settings, in lot 0 build settings, here I have to tell Unreal that I want to use the channel number 1 and I want to use as destination the channel number 2. And if I apply these changes, now here we have our UV channel 1. Sebo says Lightroom Web for some other. I can't imagine any situation where light map pack could be useful. I just get errors from this type of package of UV mapping and packaging. So I can't imagine, but we will talk. I will talk with you about this in Blender chat. So we have our UV channel 0 or UV channel 1 that we are not going to use, but Unreal used it. So if we go here, UV channel 2, these are our perfectly laid out UV mapping for light maps. So this is pretty cool. Unreal created this light mapping. It's great. So now let's configure this. I don't want the mean light map resolution to be 64. You may want it, but I don't want it. So I want this, apply changes, and Unreal adapts the light map UV mapping to the texture size I define it as the minimum texture size. Ideally, you have to have the same value here and here, but at least you have to have this value with the same value as here. After that, you can increase this to a higher value, and there is no problem. But ideally, you should use the same size for the light map than the light map configured for the automatic light map UVs. So great, we have this here. We can go to the other table, repeat the process in load, build settings. We change this to 1, this to 2, this to 512, apply changes, and voila, we have our UV mapping. Great. Since we have in Blender our object with the correct UVs and with the correct named materials, and we have everything configured in Capsule, we have everything done for the asset export part. This part is not so long as my explanation. This can be done in 2 minutes, okay? Because all you have to do is to have a secondary, and this is not, as I said, this has nothing to do with BlenderSMITH. This is more that how you should export objects to Unreal. So you have to have the secondary slot, UV slot, and you should add the object here, and that's it, and export it. That's it. Great. Now we want our materials. Okay, 0, 0, 0, and 0, 0, 0. We want our materials. How can we export these materials? For this, we have a script, a specific script we did to export materials. Let me go to the GitHub, and here we have BSMI Automator or BS Material Baker. And the Blender script is BS Material Baker. This one is for use it inside Unreal Engine, and you will see why later. But now we want the BS Material Baker. You can download it, or you can just copy everything. We can say it in raw. We copy everything. We go to Blender, and here in the script or in the text editor, new exporter, just to give it a name to the file. Paste it, and that's it. So first of all, this is not an add-on. It is a script. So you are not going to get any button yet. In the future, we will turn this into an add-on, but right now, this is not an add-on. This is a script, but it's pretty easy to use. You can ignore everything here, more or less. I will explain a bit of a pair of things later, but you can ignore everything here, and you can go here. This is in Spanish. This is important. This is in Spanish. You can translate. I will update this with the English comments. The rest of things is in English. I'm not sure if I have. No, this is in Spanish. The explanation is in Spanish. I will update this file with the English explanation too, but it's pretty simple. So this is the execution. This is what it's going to call the function that is going to bake all our textures, and we have some parameters. It's like running a program in the command line or something similar. It's simple. Just give the computer an order. So the first parameter is if we want the new textures, because what this script is going to do is to bake everything to textures. Okay? It's going to bake everything to textures. And you will have two options. You will have the option to bake everything to the texture of the object, which is not the case right now, because if we check our UV map, it's prepared for tiling. So we don't want the texture to be baked, right? We want the texture to be a tileable texture, to reuse it, not just in this object, but to reuse it in many other objects we may want. So this is just this is prepared for a tileable texture. So do we want to connect the new textures to the material? This means, and we will see the effect later, but this means that if I go here, let me go to the first material, it's going to create a baked material, a baked texture for everything. And if we say yes, if we say true here, it's going to replace these connections with the new textures. So in the end, if we have a big tree of nodes here, it's going to disconnect this big tree and connect here just the result of this big tree. This is good even for cyclists because you can save processing power too. So no, right now I don't want you to modify my scene, to modify my materials. I want to keep my materials as they are because this scene is prepared for cyclists. I just want to have the materials in Unreal. Okay, second parameter, to plane or not. What does this mean? This means that if we want the texture as a tileable texture, you have to bake it as a one by one texture. One by one, I mean as a squared texture, right? So you have to bake it in to a plane. That's it, to a square. If you don't want to use a square, this means you want to bake it to the UVs of the object, you just say true. I want to respect the original UVs from the object, so this is true. This should be called to object or not, not to plane, to object or not. So we don't want, in this case, we don't want to bake anything to object. We want to bake everything to plane. That's it. Great. Now the size of the bake in X, the X size and the Y size, or resolution basically, the folder, the destination folder for the textures, and the format. The format, I mean the type of texture you are going to export. In this case, we are going to use PNG. I'm not sure that this is entirely working, but we just use PNG, so I don't care too much. And that's it. So let's see here what do we have here. So I have to configure one folder. We can go here and configure here texture folder, TX, for example, and this is going to be my destination folder. So let's replace everything. One important thing is that you have to use double slashes. This will be fixed in the future. This is just right now. This has been developed under pressure and production, so it can be improved. This is why I made this open source, so anyone can improve this and collaborate. So I want my textures 2K by 2K, that's okay. I want my textures at PNG, and I want my textures to be square and tileable, and I don't want you to reconnect the textures. That's it. Great. Now we can go here. Let me save this scene now that we have everything configured. And let's review some important parts. So what is the script going to check for here? First of all, this script works just with the principal shader. Okay? You need a principal BSDF connected. Well, not connected, but it's going to use just the principal BSDF. Okay? Second thing, it's going to use, for the textures, it's going to use the name of the material. That's important. And that's very important because later in real, we are going to reconnect everything automatically. So we need these textures connected to the materials. Now, what slots are, what values are we going to use here? In this case, this is limited to some values because these are the values we decided to use. That's it. But this could be improved to bake everything. In this case, we have enabled base color, specular, roughness, metallic, and normal. That's it. I thought we had true. We have bump. Let me check. Bump. No, we don't have bump. Well, it's going to bake the bump, I think. Or no, it's going. I'm not sure. I'm not sure right now. But I don't care. So it's going to go through all the materials of the object, and it's going to bake all the materials of the object. So let's go to object mode. Let's show the system console. This is important, and for you, if you use Linux, you should open Blender from a command line, I think, to be able to see this. And if you work in OS X, you have to open Blender from a command line, or you have to enter inside the package of Blender and run a specific executable object inside the package of Blender. But the important thing is that you need, well, you don't need it, but it's better if you have the console to see the outcome of the script. So great, we can pick both objects. It's going to export. In this case, we have the same name, so it's okay if we bake just one object. If you have several objects with different material, it's better that you rename every material if you want to be different. But in this case, we can bake just one object. So text, run script. Let me, where is my system console? No, I don't want full screen. system console. Let me make this smaller so we can see the system console. And that's it, run a script. You can see here, found output, that's it. It's baking. Run. I forgot one thing, I think. Yeah, I forgot one thing. It's using cycles to bake the textures. So it's going to use, right now, because this is not finished, it's going to use the cycles configuration you have in the scene. So you have 1000 samplers, is going to render with 1000 samplers. In this case, it's going to be more or less fast. But to bake this, you can use one sample, 3 samples, something like that. So it's baking everything. I'm not sure if I can cancel it. I can break it. I don't want to break it. So let me take this opportunity to tell you that subscribe to our channel. So you can follow us, you can follow these live streamings. We are going to do more live streamings in English, not just in Spanish. And we're going to publish more tutorials regarding this. And I have a pretty great news regarding photogrammetry. And I will do a specific photogrammetry live streaming soon. Not right now, but pretty soon. And it will come with a surprise. More or less a surprise, but with a surprise. Because I'm really happy with a discovery I made. It's not about Mushroom. Sorry, Mushroom, it's great, but professionally we cannot use Mushroom just because it's a speed and the lack of some features for baking textures. But this is going to be fixed. But we have a surprise for you in the next photogrammetry live streaming. So that's it. It baked the textures, it rendered the textures. Here we have our textures. It ignored the values that are not needed. So in this case, for example, table low, here we can see what it did. We can see different nodes. And it connected the textures. No, it doesn't connect the textures, sorry. One thing it does is that if there is no texture here and it's just a value, it needs some color node. So it effectively connected this color node where there were just a value. Okay? But the value is exactly the same. So if we see the metallic here is 1 and this is 1. And if we go to the roughness is 0.3, and if we check this color, it's 0.3. So it's exactly the same value. It has not modified the material. Call map? No, it's not call map. I'm sorry, the surprise is more related to a commercial app, to a commercial tool. So it's not related to an open source. Call map is really slow, but really slow. So we cannot use call map. It has the same problem as Mushroom right now. But Mushroom is cooler. It's way, way cooler. But I don't say anything more about that right now. So this material is done, and if we see this material, we check this material is exactly as before. It's it's exactly as before. We have the new texture it generated. I don't want to modify the scene. We have the new textures, but the material, it's untouched. Okay, it's the very same material. Great. So what happens now? We have our textures. We can check our textures. Here's the color, black color, white metallic, the roughness, the tabletop as a tileable material, tileable texture. The normal map is not working here right now, and I know what's the problem. It's a small problem I will fix. but it's not working right now. So we will use the roughness as our bomb material, as our bomb texture right now, but I will fix the problem. Our roughness and our specularity. Remember that our specularity, it was just a color, so a value. Okay, so we have the value as a color. Great, that's it. We are done. We exported our materials. Now, how can we import everything in Unreal automatically? This is the important part. I thought Measure was capable of using CUDA, so it would get similar speed to reality capture. Measure is not just capable of using CUDA. It's based on CUDA. You cannot use Measure if you don't have an NVIDIA card. But it's not optimized at all. The developers said it. It's not optimized. Right now, it's pretty slow. It's going to be better in the future. But right now, it's not optimized. And it's slow. That's it. It's a matter of time. It will improve with time. But right now, it's slow. And okay, let's go to Unreal. And I'm going to create, I can create the texture folder here, or I can create the texture folder outside mode or inside mode. In this case, I'm going to create the texture folder inside mode. And since these are props, I'm going to create the, well, I could create the texture folder here. Okay, let's go. I'm going to create the texture folder here, TX. And I'm going to import my textures here. Okay. Unreal Engine is going to import these textures, this texture as a normal map, but as I said, this normal map is not correct. Let's see if we can force. No, we cannot force anything. It's not correct right now, but it's not a problem. So we have this here. We could manually configure our materials, right? We could go here. We can open table law and we can start doing these things. I can enable this and I can go to TX and I'm going to use BAM multiplier because I'm not going to use the normal, so I will disable the BAM texture and I will multiply the BAM by 0. And this is table law, so table law color, table law metallic, table law roughness, then we don't have a specularity. And that's one of the reasons because we have multipliers in the material. We will add a multiplier here later. So we don't have a specularity. So this is the material with the exception of the specularity texture. Okay, this is the material, the metallic material. But imagine that you have a scene with 100 objects. Are you going to configure this manually? Are you crazy? No, we cannot configure this manually. So let's clear this up. Okay, we don't want anything. Let's go here and save everything. I want to do one thing though, that is that I want to go here and make sure that this material, right now this is something we are going to fix, but right now this tabletop 1, since it's a duplicate, is not going to be correctly configured. So since it's the same material, we just have to put here table law, the correct material, and tabletop. Okay, that's it. This is going to be fixed because instead of using the material name, we are going to use the slot name to fix all the duplicates. But that's it. I can delete these two material instances. Okay, now, how can we configure this automatically? How can I tell Unreal, please configure my materials? First of all, I need a Python interpreter. Unreal Engine comes with some kind of Python scripting capabilities from 4.19 4.20. But it's very young, it's in early stages, and the documentation it's pretty bad. So we use a plugin. It's a free plugin. You can go here. As everything else, you have the link in the description of the video. You can go here, and don't worry, this is pretty simple. You just have to go here and say what version of Unreal Engine am I using. If I go to Epic, my Epic, well, I can go to Unreal, and about Unreal Editor, this is 4.19.2. In this case, I'm not using 4.20. So in this case, 4.19, I'm going to use this version. You should use everything, you should always use the embedded version. So you don't have to deal with any problems with the Python you have installed in your system or anything like that. You just download this. Let's check. Come on. Okay, and this is already a plugin. Okay, so when you have this, you just unzip this. You go to your project folder. We can go from here. We say show in Explorer, and you go to your project folder. This is my project folder. Inside plugins, you just put this folder, and that's it. You have your Python interpreter. Yes, Python is officially supported in 4.19 and 4.20 already, but the documentation is pretty bad, so you cannot use it. Really, you cannot use it. So we have the Python plugin. We go to plugins, and here we have scripting languages. We enable this, and that's it. But please bear in mind, if you are going to build an app with this, they say you can modify one part of the plugin to disable the plugin for building the project, etc., to compiling it. Ignore that. I found it more useful to come here and disable the plugin when I want to do a build of the app. So just enable it for use it and disable it for compiling the app. With this plugin, you can use Python inside runtime, inside the app. And in this case, you have to dig deeper and see what things you have to modify. I don't need this. I just need Python as a tool. So that's it. I have everything. I can go here, I can go here, and I have a new window, Python editor. I can open here. This is my Python editor, and I have a new console that is Python console. Okay, is it's very similar to the output log, but it's the Python console, and I have here an interpreter to know several things. Suppose if you can remind me what was the Python command to check the Python version we are using, just to show you the interpreter. So I have my editor here, and I'm going to create a new script. That's it. This is one empty script, and I'm going to copy our script. That is BSMI Automator. We go here, raw, and that's it. We go to Unreal, and we paste it. Right? We can save this. I think it's saved in scripts. I'm not sure where it's saved. Yeah. Yeah, in scripts. But you have to click import. I never import this. I don't know why. You don't need to import this. So we have the script, and you have to configure it. It's pretty simple again. If we go to the content browser, we have to put here, where are my assets? Where my assets are inside BS mod prop. Okay, it's BS mod prop. That's it. And where are my textures? BS mod prop tx. Okay. It's important to respect the game because the game is the content folder. Okay, so respect the game. It seems something related to electronic arts. Change the game. Respect the game. So tx, that's it. Now, if we press execute, check what happens. We have everything correctly configured. I will explain a pair of things here. We press execute. Ta-da! We have our materials. And if you have 100 assets, here you have your 100 materials. No matter what happens here, it's everything automatically configured. So DataSmith, what is DataSmith? This is BlenderSmith. And this is, it seems slow because I'm explaining it to you, but you can have a full scene, import this full scene, have everything with material instances, and in one click, you have everything configured. So I can close this, and here I have my tables. Here are my tables. Great, cool. Okay, but what happens if I want to modify the material inside Unreal? Well, right now, with my material instance, with the type of material instance I created, I have some limitations. And this is the time when you start to improving your base material, and you end up with something like this, that is more or less another overshader that you can use with practically every opaque object in your scene. In this case, I'm going to show you how can we add a multiplier to modify, for example, the metalness of the object, and to modify the color. So everything that is going to be shown in the material instance needs to be a parameter. That is why I said that you had to create a parameter, not just a texture, but a texture parameter. And in this case, we also want some parameters. So what I am going to do is to multiply the color, the color texture by everything. So by something. So I want to multiply it at the same level. So in this case, I want to multiply the color texture by a color. So color parameter does not exist, right? Why? Because the color, it's a vector. So I need a vector parameter. And here we have it, vector parameter. So I can put here color mul, for example, for multiplier, color mul, and I'm going to put here a multiply node, and if I connect this to this, and then to the base color, check what happens to the table when I press apply. Boom! Our table is black. Why? Simple. Because it is simple. Because we have the color texture and we have our color multiply parameter, and we left it as black by default. So if we configure this to white, we recover our color. We could go and multiply it by red to have a more reddish wood, or by green, or by whatever you want. Okay, but what happens if I don't want to use the multiplier? I don't want to use the multiplier, I just want to use the texture. And I want to use the multiplier, the color multiplier in some situations, and I don't want to use the color, I want to have options. Okay, I want options. Then I can use a static switch. I can use a static switch. What is a static switch? it's what its name says. It's a switch. So turn on the color, turn off the color. So in this case, turn on the color, turn off the color. And now I need a value. So right click, promote to parameter, and this is enable color. That's it. Okay, default value is false. So by default, it's going to use the texture only. And if I enable it, it's going to use the texture multiplied by the color. But what happens if I want to replace the texture just by a color? I don't want any texture because I want to save some RAM, some memory. So I don't want any texture because I don't need that texture. Okay, you guess it. I'm going to use another static switch. If this is false, I'm going to connect this, and if this is true, I'm going to connect the color. So this is multiply color, and again promote to parameter only color. For example, this is just an example. We can put this in groups. So in this case, multipliers, multipliers and options and options. Okay, I can apply this, and by default I have again my table. But if I go to my material instance, here I have some options. But here's my color multiplier. I can decide, well, hello. Yeah, is this one? Okay. No, it's not this one. Should I press save? Where are my multipliers? My options, where are my options? Multiply color. It's a bool parameter. It's the same as this one. It should work. I don't understand why it's not loading my parameters. Let's do a thing. I'm going to remove these parameters from any group and check if they appear. I don't understand. Static sheet parameter values. Why is not showing my values? Okay, let me check my material just in case. Static bool parameter. Yeah, it should work. It should appear like this one. Okay, so you can enable this and enable the option. But I don't know why this is not showing the parameter. Multiply color, static color. This is everything enabled. I'm going to press this as default just in case they appear. No, they don't appear. The lesson. Oh! You are totally right, Mag9. Oh my god. You are totally right. If I don't connect this to this is not going to appear. So, oh my god. Great. Now, let's put this inside our options group, and options group, apply, save, everything disconnected. We have our table, we have our material, and now we have our options. Okay, and we cannot see this color is not present here. Why? Because we have it disabled. So it's not going to take processing power because we disabled it. So if we want, we can enable multiply by color. I can enable, and then it shows my color. I enable the color and I can modify the color. Okay, and if I want, I can go here and I can disable this. I don't care about this. Enable only color, and it's going to use just the color for the color value. And this rest, this that we see here, this is the bump, because we have not disabled the bump, but we can go to the bump multiplier, 0, and that's it. Okay, so we have our objects, and we can repeat this to have the same to multiply the metalness, for example. So we can pick everything, we copy it, we connect it to the metallic, and we go here, we multiply this. I think it was that way, and yes, it is that way. And this is multiply metalness or metal. No, I'm not going to sing metal right now. Only color, but in this case only metallic color. Can you believe that I had long, really long hair in the institute, in the secondary school? Really, I had hair right here. Okay, so we have the metallic multiplier. We can disable this. We have to modify. No, that's okay. It's okay. So I don't want the only color, but I want to multiply my metallic texture, not in this material. This material is wood. I don't have anything metallic, but in the table law, because I want to modify a bit the aspect of the material. So I'm going to remove the bump, and I'm going to multiply the metalness first by white, and after that I can force the metal. In this case, metalness is not going to be noticed. Yeah, that's true. I can disable the metalness, for example, and we can see the effects here. Here, it all depends of what do I want. But instead of modifying the metalness, I'm going to modify the roughness. This is the value I want to modify. So again, let's repeat the same. And here I have to put metal mul. So let's repeat the same action. Let's connect this here. No, this is not. I want the roughness. Okay. This here, here, and here. And I'm going to name it just RG multiply RG, only RG color. Okay, save and apply, or apply and save. And I can go here. I can disable the multiply metal, but I can enable multiply roughness. So as you can see, we can modify the roughness with this. And of course, we can modify our color. In this case, our color is completely black. So I would disable, instead of multiplying the color, I would use only color. And I can clarify this a bit to get more reflection. But this is to do tiny adjustments you have to do because this is a different render engine. So you need to make little adjustments. And this is also true for BlenderSMITH. We use BlenderSMITH materials, we use BlenderSMITH content, and you have to adjust it. But it's way worse because instead of using a material instance, you have to go here and use a material, and it's way more complex and weird than this one. Focus. Okay, so I think that's it. This is everything. You can download the scripts from our GitHub. You can post issues, or you can even collaborate and modify the scripts. You are more than welcome to make any modification, and we can talk about how to improve this and how to turn this into an add-on. And I would like to make it more configurable, so everyone can configure their own names for textures, etc. But this takes time, and I don't have time right now. And in the description you have all the links for download the Unreal Engine Python, the Capsule add-on, you have also the Blender updater, that is this little program to update Blender to the latest daily build, but it seems that Capsule add-on is not working with the latest daily build. And you have the link to our GitHub. So if you have any question, ask it right now. And if you don't have any question, then I will finish the streaming. But that's it. I think it's pretty simple, and we used it in one project. Let me show you one project. If I can load it. I'm not sure if I can load it. No, I'm not going to be able to load it right now. So I can show. So it seems you don't have any questions at all. So great. I will finish the streaming now. If you liked it, please press the like button. This will help others to see this in their feeds. And subscribe to our channel. Press the little bell button besides the subscribe button so you get notified, because you know I usually don't advertise too much the streamings. And see you in the next streaming. Bye.